It's rare that a new producer at community television can do a first show with the confidence and flair of a seasoned professional. But that's just what our guest tonight has done with her first show, which was about singing nuns, and she continued on with this flair until her most recent interview, which was an interview with Steve Wozniak. When I found out that Jennylyn Gleave had never been interviewed here at KMVT before, I jumped at the chance to find out more about her and to share that with you. So Jennylyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mel, for having me.
Jennylyn, I have to apologize for the dark glasses. I have to apologize to the audience. I was showering this morning, I got soap in my eye, and things happened and it became red, so I apologize for the dark glasses, although some people tell me I look cool.
I think you do.
Yeah, and besides, with the red eye, I didn't want this to be a show about Beauty and the Beast, so.
That's funny.
Jennylyn, how did you become, what motivated you to become a community producer at KMVT?
Actually, it's a passion of mine. I didn't really know it was television. From 10 years old, I started in theater and have been an actress. And moved to the United States and stopped for a while because I was doing other things. And now that my life can afford the time, I was actually looking to get back into theater and wound up here.
You wound up here?
I wound up here, and I love it.
Uh-huh.
I think that anything to do with the entertainment industry is something that I enjoy.
Yeah. Your debut show was memorable because you had singing nuns on. Why did you do it? Why did you decide to do a show on singing nuns?
Those nuns are two of my favorite people. There's not a lot of people in life sometimes that you can trust, but you can trust nuns.
Right.
And I've taken classes with them, and I always start everything off in my life with God. Right. And I think they were the closest representatives to God, apart from asking a priest to come. So right. That's why I started off with them.
Why is spirituality important to you?
Because I can't imagine my life without it. From a very young age, I was the only child in my family that always seeked it out. And to the point where I would wake up and iron my sisters' and my brothers' clothing and polish their shoes to get them to go with me.
To church?
To church. And I couldn't figure out why, because it felt more like a history lesson to me then. It didn't really mean an active part of my life like it does now. I just liked going there and hearing the stories about God and all the wonderful things that He had done.
And that enriched your life and made you feel better?
Right. And as I grew older and I got wiser, I learned that God is an everyday part of my life. He's not something in a building or that I practice only on Sundays, but the way that I live, the way that I think, the way that I treat other people. Right. And that's what God is all about for me. And so if I try to remove all of those factors from my existence, it's very empty. I've never met anyone in my life who could fill the void that is there when I choose to meander away.
Right, right. You know, I ask all my guests to bring an object that somehow pertains to their life or to the conversation that we're going to have. And you thought about it for a while, what to bring, and you decided to bring this. Why is this important to you?
For a number of reasons.
This statue, this angel.
Since I was very little, again, I loved angels. I never knew why. I just thought they were beautiful, and they always look so pure, and they signify such purity and goodness. And as I grew older and became more active in the faith in which I was baptized in, I found out that my birthday is actually Guardian Angels Day.
Oh, really?
Yes, which is October 2nd. And somehow it just kind of gelled. It's like, okay, I get it. Maybe that's why I like them so much. I'm an angel.
And during your first show with the nuns, I think something unusual happened to you that you told me about sometime after. Can you talk to us about that?
Ah, good. I could just hear the skeptics. But my father...
It's your experience, so just relate your experience.
Thank you. Yeah. My father has passed over, and so has my stepfather. And I'm very fond of them both. And the day of my show, either one or both of them came on the set on my debut show because they wanted me to know, I think, how proud they were of what I was doing, that I was actually giving birth to my passion and doing what I love. And so the presence, when they come around me, I know because it feels like I have bugs crawling in my hair.
Yeah.
And it was so intense that I had to cut.
Yeah.
And so nobody knew why I cut, but I asked the crew, I said, I have to cut. And everyone was looking at me like, why is she cutting? But that's why.
So you had to regroup. It was kind of startling to have them appear to you.
It's like, okay, not now. You got to let me concentrate.
Right. So that was your first show, and since then you've interviewed women in the military, and you've done a show on mammograms and feng shui. But your last show, a week ago to this very day, you interviewed Steve Wozniak. How did you pull that off? How did you get him to be on your show?
I am just one of those people who, if I really want something, I never stop till I get it. And it's not an ego thing. It's just because I really believed in an interview with him because of the cause for which I started my show.
Which is?
I want to help young people in the community. I know a lot of people say they want to do that, but I truly want to. And my motivation for this started when a really close friend of my daughter's was killed in Mountain View. And I watched so many young people just devastated at the loss. And I knew him. He was an incredible, special kid. And I was also devastated because he had visited our home on numerous occasions. And I don't know all the details related to that are related to how or why he died. I knew he was shot. And I decided that when my children had left home and I had time to spare, that one of the things I wanted to do was to make sure no other child would lose their life that way, if I could play a part in enabling their safety and providing opportunities and places for them to spend their spare time.
So you're trying to keep kids from joining gangs and so on.
Exactly.
And Woz has a similar interest?
The reason that I want to speak to people like Steve Wozniak, and I want to get Condoleezza Rice, it's my goal at some point to get her. These people, for me, they aspired, they really rose far in their lives because they really gave in to their gifts and they didn't let fear stop them.
Right.
What I heard Mr. Wozniak say is, I'm passionate about this. I love this, like I do my shows.
Right.
And so what he did is he gave life to his passion. He started without a textbook, with his natural ability, and he kept at it. And eventually, there was a company that was born of all of his efforts.
Yeah, when Woz said yes to you, what was your reaction?
I'm like, okay, I hope he really shows up. Because
you didn't sleep the whole night before, did you?
No, I didn't, because it was happening so fast. I met him on the Monday night because I had tried before and it didn't work out because he's such a busy person.
Right.
So when he said yes the second time, I know how busy he was. I was afraid something might come up and deter him, something more important than being interviewed by Jennylyn. And so I really wanted to make sure that it would happen. And so I prayed, which I do for everything.
Right, of course.
And then the next day, I said, God, it's in your hands. If this is your will, it will happen. And if it doesn't, it's because it's not what you want. And I would be okay with that.
Right. Well, we have an excerpt from that interview. And so let's just get a feeling for it. If we could see a cutaway shot of this, please.
So, Mr. Wozniak?
Great to be here. You make me feel on top of the world. It's probably, usually the host is supposed to be higher. But
I look disgusting. Well, you know what? I forgot to bring the cushion.
Okay.
So that's why I want to begin with your life before Apple Computer. Can you tell me about Steve Wozniak?
Grew up as one of those little smart techie kids, going out building his own little projects, like a lot of us do. I'm very proud that I was born in San Jose. I could tell you an awful lot of facts about that city because it's important to me, and it's one of the reasons that I try to contribute back to the places that were important in my life. So I grew up in Silicon Valley as it evolved, and the orchard trees went down, the homes went in, the little corner shopping centers went in.
So at what age were you when this all started happening and when you built your first computer?
Well, probably around 10 years old.
Wow.
And so by sixth grade, I built a tic-tac-toe computer. It could play tic-tac-toe and never lose. How did I build this tic-tac-toe computer with hundreds of transistors? I pounded nails into wood. And then I learned how to, I soldered the leads onto the nails. And I was good at soldering because I already had a ham radio license by then. Usually the things that I do the best on, are the things that I had a personal reason for wanting to do. And almost thinking back, I just wish kids were assigned a project, coming into school that was that huge. Here is your final exam. During this year, here are your books, and your books have all the clues to build it. Well, the smart kids are going to go out and read those books and start working, and within 1 month finish the whole class. Because they're learning on their own, they're going to learn better than they learn in school. You learn things through life by accidents. And I would say that the places that got me on the course that I'm known for today were largely accidental things that I stumbled onto. In high school, I was very lucky. I had one teacher, the most important teacher of my life. Mr. McCullum had an electronics course at Homestead High School that was better equipped than any of the courses, even at the local colleges like Foothill. For the rest of my life, all I wanted was a computer. I could type in my programs and somehow run them. Well, then I told my dad, someday I'm going to have a 4K. Doesn't sound like much memory now, but 4K is the minimum amount of memory. You can run a programming language that you could type in a program and solve your problems. And I told him I'm going to have one of those. And he said it costs as much as a house. So I sat there stunned. I didn't have a reply right away. I said, I'll live in apartments. So I finally had that machine built, and I passed it out for free at the club. I gave it away, no copyright notices. Here's a schematic, build your own, build your own, build your own. Because I figured people would, oh my gosh, look at this. It's hardly any parts. They could look at my board. It's, maybe 30, 40 chips that are $1 chips. And oh my gosh, I can build my own computer. They didn't really have not very many of them had the technical skills of soldering and building things. So then Steve Jobs came back from Oregon. He came to the club and he saw this activity. He saw the interest. And he said, why don't we make them a PC board? Then it's easy for them to build. You plug all the parts into one PC board, solder it pretty easy, and it's a very simple task, and it works. We had a company, and Steve came back from Oregon one day, flew in. As I was driving along, he says, I got a great name for the company, Apple Computer. And he always said he worked in orchards in Oregon, so I assumed, I hope there's apple trees there. But I'm the quiet guy. I don't ask a lot of questions of people.
Wow, perseverance and determination is what I keep hearing.
No, it's more like just love and passion.
Right.
Just knowing, feel inside what you want so badly, and you'll make sacrifices. And
well, are any of your children following in your footsteps in terms of?
Well, thank you for asking. I've never been asked that hardly.
Really?
Yes, the answer is yes.
Thank you so much. Maybe we should do this again sometime.
Oh, yeah, easy to take it on from here, yeah.
Okay, great. I've learned a lot from you, and I hope that the young people watching this show will follow in your footsteps. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to my crew, and have a great evening, everyone. Thank you.
Well, Jennylyn, what surprised you most about your interview with Steve Wozniak? What surprised you or impressed you most?
I would rather say impressed, because I think I expected everything that I heard, because I had met him a few times in a more casual environment, and I was silently observing what a remarkable person he was.
Right.
What impressed me the most about him is someone who's accomplished so much in his life, is so compassionate, so caring, and so kind. And one thing he said that really jumped out at me was, at the age where people pick religion in their lives, he decided it didn't matter how successful he became, he would have time for ordinary people. And I think far too many people who've accomplished success in their life elevate themselves to where they feel that people, ordinary people, whatever that means, I take it the average guy, Joe Blow, doesn't deserve of their time anymore, because they are in a whole different world. And although they are, I feel that's when they need to give to those people.
Yeah, I think that's what people are most impressed by with Steve Wozniak, is that he's just, one of us, with more money, more intelligence, but there's absolutely no pretense there at all.
No,
none
not
whatsoever.
at all.
Yeah. Now you're doing a program with the police department. It's called what? Live Wires? Did you
say? Well,
say?
actually, I had a dream for this company called the Live Wires. That was the name that I feel was given to me for this organization. But after doing the research, there's so much involved when it comes to bureaucracies, in starting a nonprofit organization, that I've decided to join the PAL organization, which is already in existence with the police. And I'm going to do whatever I can to jump on the bandwagon and help this organization,
Right.
because they're already making a difference in the lives of young people.
Right. And you've had the police chief here in Mountain View on your show?
Yes, I've interviewed the police chief, and the next step that I am going to be taking in terms of that is getting a group of those kids on my show. I want to hear from them
Right, good.
how they feel about, you know, the state of the world and stuff like that.
Yeah. Now I'd like to find out more about you. You're originally from British Guiana.
Yep, it's a very, very complicated beginning, I have to say.
Well, keep it simple. We don't have much time.
I know.
Yeah.
My father is Lebanese and French from Lebanon,
Uh-huh.
moved to the Caribbean. My mother is a native of Grenada.
Uh-huh.
Those two met. My mother moved to Guyana while she was pregnant. I was born and went to school in Guyana, and then moved to Trinidad and Tobago in my later life, where I met the person that I was married to, who brought me to California.
Right. Why did you come to California? Because you married him.
Yeah, he's a dentist from California who was recruited from UCLA by a Catholic organization and taken to Trinidad and Tobago.
I see.
And I was living there, and he was working as a dentist and providing dentistry for the underprivileged. And we met, got married, and here I am.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back to British Guiana. What impresses me most about you is that, one, you're always meticulously and beautifully dressed.
Thank you.
And you do everything beautifully and meticulously.
Thank
I've
you
discovered your
very
shows, the way
much.
you dress, just about everything. But also, you're fearless.
Yes, I am fearless.
And you're curious.
Yes, that's true too. Do you want to know I'm fearless?
All right, why?
I'm built on an indestructible foundation. It's called God.
Yes, okay.
Nobody can destroy me.
Right.
And that's why I have nothing to fear.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you for asking that.
Okay, people sense that, I think, when they first meet you, and it doesn't wane. It continues. Yeah, when you were in British Guiana, you heard about the Jonestown
Yes.
tragedy.
Yes.
And you actually went there to see it. Why did you do this?
I was living really close to Jonestown, actually. I actually lived in the same region where Jim Jones set up Jonestown. There were, I think, 6 hours on a boat separating us, and less than an hour on an airplane. And at the time, I had a really good friend who was an Air Force pilot that I flew a lot with. I used to go flying with him. And because of the proximity, everybody in Guyana at that time had a curiosity about Jonestown. They had a radio program which they talked about Jonestown all the time, and it made everyone curious because it sounded like paradise. And so as a young teenager, me and all my school friends wanted to know what Jonestown was all about, so that's kind of what led me there. In addition, the natives of Jonestown had a little shop in the city or village where I grew up, and a lot of the women had befriended my mother, and actually my parents had been friends with a lot of those people who were tragically killed during the Kool-Aid session.
Well, you must have been shocked by what you saw.
Oh, I was absolutely. Actually, the pilot that I was talking about was my boyfriend. And we were out one Saturday when he was paged to report to the airport, and then he just disappeared for 3 days. So I think you guys in the United States knew about the Jonestown massacre long before us Guyanese people were even had any clue of what was going on.
Yeah. I think you won an award as an actress when you were 10 years old?
When I started acting at 10 years old, I started in school skits and school plays, and I had this teacher who trained me, my drama teacher, believe it or not, who just connected with me on Facebook.
Really?
And he's part of why I'm here at this studio.
Oh, okay.
Because he couldn't believe I had stopped acting and told me I need to get back out there. But he entered me in a school competition where I dramatized a poem by myself called Banana Man. And banana is one of the exports in Guyana, so people are really into, if you're a banana man there, you're an accomplished person. And so what we did is we got my father's shirt and pants, and we stained them up, and we tied them onto my little tiny body with a belt, stuck my hair up under a hat, and my teacher made a mustache with eyebrow pencil, and I dramatized the poem. I went up against all the schools in the district, and I won. And then I was taken to the National Theatre to perform.
Right.
And that's how my life got started in acting.
Right. Uh-huh.
Yes.
So, going forward a little bit, you married a dentist?
Yes,
Yeah,
from
and then
California.
you came. What was your impression of the United States when you first came here?
It's a culture shock. It really is.
I love culture shocks. Tell me what that was like.
Well, first of all, I got here and I'm used to like a major highway. I had all these freeways, these overwhelming grocery stores, department stores. It felt vast. I grew up in a city where most people knew each other, and suddenly I found myself in what I call myself a small fish in a big sea. Where I've come from, I was a big fish in a small sea.
Right.
When I was getting married, my fiance came to meet me, and I greeted him on the tarmac of the international airport with the Prime Minister's bodyguard.
With the Prime Minister?
With the Prime Minister's bodyguard.
The Prime Minister from?
Of my country.
What was he doing with you?
I was sent, he was, my parents were very closely connected to the government at the time, and so I got the VIP treatment there. And so when I came home from Trinidad, and I told my parents that he was coming to meet them to ask to marry me. The night that he arrived, I was taken there with the Prime Minister's bodyguard to meet him. So he got off the plane, and I was standing on the international terminal waiting for him. And he goes, "Jenny, what are you doing here?" I said, "Welcome to my world." And so he was taken off and through the VIP lounge. And so when you've grown up in a country where you had those types of privileges, and you come here, it's very overwhelming.
Right.
And so for many reasons, I felt very insecure in the beginning, because the only person I really knew here was my husband. So that and it's...
you came, right.
I am someone who takes chances. If I take risks. And I remember thinking that what I was actually doing never really registered until I was on a plane coming from Miami to San Francisco. It took me 4 hours from Guyana to Miami, 6 hours from Miami to San Francisco. And I remember a woman sitting next to me on the plane. I had a very strong accent. And we just started speaking, because I talk to people everywhere. And she asked me, if I was coming to visit. And I said, "No, I'm going to meet my husband." She goes, "Your husband, is he from California?" I said, "He is a native of San Francisco."
Right.
And I met him in Trinidad, and we got married. And she goes, "Have you met any of his family?" And I said, "No." And she goes, "No? Oh my God, and you married him?" And that's the first time since I'd known him.
You are fearless.
And so she asked me if I wanted a bottle of wine, and I said yes.
Yeah. Now, you said you had an accent?
Very strong accent.
What was the accent?
It's very mixed, because I was born in Guyana. I lived in an island called Dominica, which is between Martinique and Guadeloupe, which are two French islands. And so they have their own accent. And I lived in Trinidad and Tobago. I spent some time in Barbados. So all the accents are all mixed up. So I would say that I had a Guyanese Caribbean accent, putting it in a nutshell.
Right. Okay. So when you were married for a while, it gave you an opportunity to travel quite a bit?
Yes.
And you've traveled all over the world.
I pretty much, yes, I have.
Yeah. What are the 2 or 3 places that impressed you the most?
I loved the south of France.
Of course.
The little small villages. There's a village called Mougins and Grasse. And of course Cannes. And then I loved the south of Italy. My favorite places there, I loved Capri, which I said when I die, I'd like my ashes tossed there. Positano. I was really prepared to sell everything and move to Positano for 6 months so that I could learn the language, and something came up in my life that prevented that from happening. And I also really liked Holland.
You did?
I loved Holland.
What did you like about it?
I think that people... in all of these places, the same reason I like them for the same reason, which is people are more focused on being rested, enjoying their lives, and enjoying just their country more than making a dollar.
Right. Yeah, I just heard that, I think in France the people work much less, maybe 30 hours a week. you know, they're productive at what they do, but they value just enjoying simple things and just enjoying life, and they're not particularly workaholics.
Exactly. And they take what they call a siesta in the afternoon,
Uh-huh.
where all the stores close. I remember being in Italy, standing outside of a shop window going, "Where are you? I only have this much time and I want those shoes."
Right. Now, you've, you know, workaholics, you know, may have a problem. But when you're passionate about something, you devote yourself to it 100%. Would you ever consider yourself a workaholic?
No.
If you found something that you really loved?
I love this. I love what I do here. But I do realize that you need to take a break so you can rejuvenate. Because if you take anything and work it to hell without giving it a break, it's not going to last as long.
Right.
I think that's true of humans too. So I believe it doesn't matter how passionate you are about something, you need to make sure you get good nutrition, get yourself good and rested in order for you to do your best at whatever it is.
Jennylyn, what have you learned about being a producer since you've been here that you could share with us?
I have learned that when you love something, as much as I love doing this, I can do it all the time. I've also learned that I can tell stories that I've wanted to tell through my productions. And I've learned that I can learn a lot about other people, like I have been since I've been interviewing them. I've also learned everything that I have learned will benefit me the most if I can impart it and share it with others. And that's what that's what I would say has impacted me the most.
Well, Jennylyn, I have to agree with you, and that's what I found out about being a producer too. And this brings us to the end of our shows, and I'd like to thank you for being here and to actually encourage the people out there to become producers. I won't take the glasses off for very long, but you're an inspiration to people who are doing what you'd like to do, so thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being on my show.
And I thank you for doing this. It really means a lot to me.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
So with Jennylyn's inspiration, consider being a producer. Thank you for watching.
I thought it went really well. How do you think it went?
Well, I think we covered all the points.
What do you